Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're in the world, and welcome back to another video. It's a Wayne update video, and it's also a responding to the fabulous Jane Day Slim and World video that she put out yesterday. So, yeah, first of all, let's get into the Wayne update. So, decent week on plan, a lot of exercise, a lot of chair cardio, food was on point, plenty of speed food, things like that. And yeah, overall, a decent week. So, stood on the scales yesterday morning, Friday morning, for anyone that wants to know. I got weighed in on Friday and I lost £2. So, not bad overall. Was probably hoping for a little bit more, but hey, just take what you can get when I can get it. So, yeah, not too bad. That means in 5.5 months or 25 weeks of Slim and World, I've now lost 2 stone 7.5 pound. So I'm back to that 2.5 stone mark. Um, yeah, overall, not too bad. That takes my total weight loss in 16 months to 9 stone 6 pound. Yeah, it's all going in the right direction. I'm doing what I need to do. It's still averaging out a couple of pound a week, so yeah, it's healthy. I don't want anything too drastic. Um, I also don't want a lot of loose skin and things like that. So, if I could just lose it gradually, then I should kind of, in a way, be able to work and tone on things as I go along. So, yeah, not too bad. This week ahead should be okay, should be decent. I've got plenty of soups planned, salads planned, a couple of Slim and World meals that I didn't even get round to uh, this past week, so I've still got them as well. So yeah, I'm probably going to do a what I eat in a week video again, or maybe a couple of what I eat in a days. I don't know. You'll have to let me know in the comments below to which one you would rather see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the week ahead. I am away next weekend, which makes weighing in again slightly difficult. I probably have to go to a Thursday night group because Friday morning it's a little bit too late in the day. If it was an hour earlier, I'd have probably been able to make it to the same group. But I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, it's probably going to be an earlier weigh-in for me, which I've done a few of these now. Thursday night's not particularly great for me to weigh-in, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see and get it done. So yeah, overall, I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what we can get off. If any, obviously it'll be a different scale, different weighing time, different day, that type of thing. If you hear some racket in the background, the Rag and Bone Man is currently outside shouting through the loudspeaker. Anyway, yeah, so kind of that's the weighing element done for this video. I've rabbited on enough about that. Now, let's get round to responding to the lovely Jane Day. As you know, with this channel, if you've been with me from the start, started off drinking beer, doing food, cooking videos, and now on Slim World. I now tend to watch a lot of Slim World videos on YouTube, which won't come as a shock to anyone, but we kind of all do it. I use them as motivation tools throughout the week because it's always nice to see when people have lost weight and kind of give you little ideas of what you can have during the week. So Jane asked on our community post earlier in the week for any questions, and she would answer them on a video. I'm not sure if mine was the only question because the video seemed to be fully aimed at me um, in that respect. I don't mind that. But yeah, I the question that I put forward was one around motivation within groups, um, especially when the consultant and things just happen to read things off a screen. Your Lifeline feature this week, online feature is XYZ. The podcast is this, and then that's kind of it. There's nothing else to the group, and I don't want to be disrespectful to my group, but there's quite a lot of negative Nancy's in it. Um, it's kind of there's some fantastic people in. Don't get me wrong, but there's some when it comes to the image therapy part that just use it as a sounding board to just kind of go out there with it's everyone else's problem. It's never their issue, and yeah, they kind of just bring the tone down of the group. And I just think sometimes like if I was a consultant, I'd be working on kind of maintaining that. And I know that's hard for consultants because we're probably one of 5-6 groups in a week that they do. Which overall, to try and keep a positive mindset, just in a normal job at the best of times is hard. We're doing it over so many groups when, let's face it, I think we've all been in groups where, negativity's kind of grabbed hold and things like that. But yeah, my question to Jane was kind of one, not from my personal thing. For me, I'm 9 stone 6 down. My motivation to lose weight is clear to see. There's no change in that. But it was kind of for other people that don't really want to talk about issues or find groups. I always say the word toxic bandied about. I went to group, I tried group, it was just toxic, it didn't work, so negative, I felt drained, this, that, and the other. Um, uh, we kind of all have seen that, and obviously it's our right as Slim World members to swap and change groups if we feel like doing that. I always go in very positive every week. Sometimes I don't always come out very positive, but that's just because it does kind of get draining listening to people, especially if they're negative. You don't really want that. But yeah, the question really, was put out there, and I think Jane answered it remarkably well. So well done for that, Jane. Um, for for me, so I'll go on to the other element. So if I was a consultant, which I don't want to be a consultant, not yet. I mean, who'd listen to a extremely fat person like me try and give out things like that? It's just not going to happen. Um, but for me, if I was a consultant, that kind of that teaching element of the question that I posed at the end was kind of one that I've seen a lot develop over the time, and it's kind of you get new members in. And we're always told you can eat as much potatoes and pasta and things like that, which is fine. You can have that on the plan, not a problem. But actually, the teaching of around it that you need so much speed food, your carbs, your calcium, your fibre, things like that, and some groups like my old consultant for the first time around on Slim World, Ryan, was great. He could talk about things and say, if you're gonna have so much pasta, you need so much this. And he used to work out, is your portion size doing anything good? If you're having big, huge portion sizes, it's probably the reason why you're not losing weight, even though it's free food and speed food. You know, whacking big portions isn't really the lifestyle plan that you should really be on. So, yeah, it's kind of a difficult one because the consultant is there as a consultant, but it's kind of how much consultant does the consultants do? And that was a bit of a mouthful. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the round table discussion part of groups is really as beneficial as it used to be, or whether or not, you know, kind of individual one to one would probably better. Because I know there's people in groups that will sit there and say, I don't want to talk about the last week. Go to somebody else. I'm not, you know, I really do not want to talk about it. You know, it's kind of at that stage, you know, is it like, or I'll have a word with you afterwards, or, but then you kind of make it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be, you know. But that's kind of the thing that happens in groups some weeks. You know, some people just don't want to talk about it, don't care. But you know, all credit to them, they're staying to group, but they're not really contributing to anything. Um, yeah, I mean, Jane touched on the fact that, you know, motivation within. Um, I've got it, you know, in stack loads of it. Like I said, I've got down to 9 stone 6. There is no injection pen, nothing like that, to help me get down to this weight. This is my second time on Slimming World. When I was given 3 years to live, 3 years ago, coming up, you know, my thought process immediately went straight back on to how I lost weight previously with Slimming World, and I've carried that on. You know, this is kind of my lifestyle now. You know, 16 months of hammering it. You know, I'm kind of now in a routine where I'm happy. I'm at a balance where a couple of pound each week. Uh, it does always amuse me, like my body, the way it works. You know, I'll lose £5 one week, £0.5 on the next, £7 the next, £2 on the next, but overall in a month, you know, I'm over the half a stone down. Uh, you know, it's kind of, it's good, ebbs and flows, but we all get that, and I think sometimes people just need to know that it's not something they're doing wrong. It's just the body, you know, the changes, water retention, exercise, you know, muscle mass, this, that, and the other. And I think that's what's missing with Slimming World. You know, it's kind of that little bit of, you know what, actually, I mean, I will say, I'd done a video previously where I talked about a consultant that we had in replace of our normal one while she was away on holiday. Um, and she was terrible. I'm, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. She was a terrible consultant. You know, it was like there's a young lass there. She put on £0.5. She was a little bit thingied about it. And the consultant was just, well, there's only you that can put food in your mouth. It's your fault that you've put weight on. This, and this. And I thought, it's not necessarily maybe because she's put, you know, she's been eating the wrong stuff. You know, she's also mentioned that she's took up Pilates, she's doing an extra, you know, exercise and this, that, and the other. And it was just kind of, she was there and it was saying, no, it's what you eat. You know, it's what you eat. That's the reason you put weight on. Because exercise and eating the correct stuff on plan, you should not have a weight gain. So it was kind of like, whoa, step back a bit, you know. Don't go all hammer and tongs at people. they're there to learn, to be motivated by the rest of the group. And sometimes I think consultants lose that. Or maybe they've just been, Jane mentioned it, to keep consultants to be motivated all the time just doesn't happen. Other things go on in life and stuff like that. So, maybe that affects some consultants. But yeah, the teachings of being healthy. I remember when I first joined, Body Magic. The Body Magic Awards were there, and it was like, who's doing the Body Magic? What are you doing? What exercises are you doing? I'm in this phase at the minute where I'm doing chair cardio. I can't move around a lot, even though I do. I'm now doing like 4,000 to 5,000 steps every day. But I know if I was to do a full boxercise session, my knees are going to be destroyed, and that'll probably be it for a day or two. Where at the minute, chair cardio, along with chair boxercise, that's 40 minutes every day of upper body and moving of the legs. That is really keeping me active. And it's burning the calories. We all know the weight loss game. Sorry about that. I was interrupted there. If you see me move towards the screen, yeah, I got a phone call from work. So yeah, we need to move more, eat healthier, eat less, and it'll drop us off. We know that. That's the game of weight loss. That's the game of lifestyle in general. So yeah, there's not, that's kind of just my thoughts on that whole process of groups and consultants and kind of the teachings of things. I just want to pick up on something that Jane said about the sins and why I don't use sins. I get 35 sins in a day, which to me is a lot. I don't necessarily use the sins because I'm not looking to use the sins. If I want egg mayo or tuna mayo, of course I sin the mayonnaise. I prefer the lighter than light stuff. I find now, kind of full sugar things are way too sweet, way too sugary, too much oil and fat in things. Yeah, I don't really snack on stuff. I kind of that is the lifestyle I've got. I don't really eat a lot of bread, eat sweets, eat chocolate. I'm not a dessert lover. That's just not me. I didn't get to being the weight that I was through eating. There was an illness. I put 16 stone on in 1 year. I just don't go out looking for things that have the sin value. A lot of the soups I make from scratch don't contain sins. A lot of the salads don't. If I do put a little bit of mayonnaise on, I'm not squeezing the full bottle on to try and use sins. Curries, I don't use a lot of sins. And if I wanted to have some bread with some soup, that's my healthy extra B. It's kind of, I get it when people say that they want to use the sins because they like to snack or they like to do things. I'm just not that type of person. I'm really not. My sins probably would go on beer if I'm away for the weekend or away for a week. My sins will be the odd dram of whiskey or the odd pint, but yeah, other than that, I don't necessarily use them because things that have the sin values in I don't tend to really go for. So yeah, it's just bizarre. I mean, I've got 35 sins in a day. If I wanted to, I could really just pick out and have 35 sins every day. But I don't feel the need to because I don't really want to eat things that I don't normally eat just for the sake of it. So yeah, it's kind of like I'm not restricting myself at all because I don't feel restricted within the plan. I just don't see the need to be using the sins. Basically, like I said, my sins come within my meals. So it's things like mayonnaise, salad cream, hot honey. You know, within my Asian cooking that I do a lot of. It'll probably be like sesame oil, which is like next to no sins for the amount that I use within a dish. So yeah, there's kind of it's just one of those, I mean, I see some people that'll cut a digestive biscuit in half just so they can make their full 15 sins up in a day. That's kind of the level that I'd never want to be at anyway. Even though I wouldn't have to. I could basically go throughout the day eating different things if I wanted to and not really focus on the sins because I get so many. But yeah, like I said, that's just not me. I've kind of turned the way I eat on its head now for a long time. Not just the 16-month, but even previously when I've done Slimming World. So yeah, I just don't use them. If I could transfer them over to other people, I would gladly do that. But yeah, that kind of is what it is, Yeah, probably sins. I'm away next weekend. I'm in Birmingham. Um, I'll probably have a couple of beers, maybe the odd dram. I'll probably, we don't talk about flexi sins much, but I'd probably have a week's worth of sins in 2 days. Um, but then for the rest of the week, unless I want some mayonnaise or something in a dish, then I'm not gonna be using them. But I'm not restricted in the slightest. I don't eat cakes, crisps, sweets, chocolates, that type of stuff anyway. So it doesn't really make much difference to me. Um, but yeah, I hope that kind of answers some of the stuff. I've rabbited on way too much. I think this is over 20 minutes now, this video. So yeah, please do go and check out Jane if you're following Slimming World. Jane is a great motivator for anyone on the plan, kind of words of wisdom, and things like that. So, if you need that little pep talk during the week, Jane's channel's probably the place to go because she speaks a lot of sense about the plan. She's got a great overview of the plan in general, and she's not afraid to talk about any of the issues that crop up. So for me personally, Jane, I'd like to say thank you for your channel and for what you give. And I'd also like to say thank you for responding to that question the other day. So yeah, I will drop Jane's link in the description. Please go and check out that channel. I'm off out now, back to work, so I'll catch you all on the next one. So until then, adios.